You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
And thanks for joining us again. Before we get started, if you're on our YouTube channel, smack that bell, give us a thumbs up, and like us. That'll help us. And we appreciate it. Yep. And also, if you're a podcast listener, jump on to iHeartRadio and look us up under their podcast. You can get us every 2 weeks. We were discussing, last episode, we were discussing our labor play, what we were doing. Mike was kind of giving us a lowdown on the flying through the fence, if you remember. But so anyway, we're just back to that. And I guess so you were saying that you flew through the fence and then now you're back to repairing it, right? So the wings fell off.
Yeah, it has some foam repair that needs, but it's going to be fine. What we need to do now is just make it set up so that I need to either bring my laptop to the field so we can make adjustments while we're there, or find some other ways to manage that. But we think we've solved most of the heating or potential heating issues, and we just have to work through it to whatever the next thing is for doing that.
Now, doesn't that airplane have like antennas and stuff hanging off of it? None of that got damaged when he flew through the fence?
No. It just
that's pretty
luckily,
amazing.
It's not all mounted that securely. It has double-sided tape, but from the standpoint
of knocked it off.
Yeah, it just knocks it off for the most part. Everything was great. Nothing got pulled out. The battery's in a spot where I think did we break the battery tray, Jay? I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
But it doesn't matter because the battery just came popping out.
The 3D printed thing to keep the wings straight.
The wing. The wing.
That got broken.
But the good news is that those are reprintable if they broke, but it didn't break unrepairably, so it's all good, and it should be fine to use the way it is.
Wow.
I think that the most fun that we both had, at least I believe Jay had fun too, was when Jim let us fly his gasser.
Yeah?
Yeah. We got, it was, Jay, you remember the names of the planes? Because I don't.
One of the planes was the Dolphin, and the other one was, I'm going to have a brain fart on that one.
Easy Star?
No, it wasn't an Easy Star. That was the Dolphin that you're talking about. But it was kind of like a
it's an Ultra Stick.
Ultra Stick, yeah, it was a stick type of plane.
Yeah,
but it was a bigger one. It was like a 46 or 60 style.
Yeah, that should be the Ultra. I think they make a mini stick and then they make a big ugly stick or something like that.
Yeah,
so
this was a much bigger. This was a much bigger stick. It was
it's like
60.
They probably called the ugly stick. Yeah, I think Brian even said that when he. So Jay, we met we got a new potential new club member for Jay's little club, and Jim was like, yeah, we actually have 3 people. This is going to be amazing. The guy named Brian showed up.
You're growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Doubling in size.
You got to be careful, Jay. Yeah, exactly. And so they met a guy named Brian, but what I want to kind of talk about, really what I wanted to give you a chance to talk about, we talked about the Frankenfly, but the Franken-10 flew.
Oh, that's right. Flew really successfully.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Jim brought out the Franken-10, and as you know, every time we go out and we fly this plane, and if you look at some of the reviews, everybody's talking about the landing gear, and the landing gear is very weak, and it's just designed bad in the plane. Unlike AZ Mike's, A10, which lands anywhere, the gear's beautiful, never have a problem with it. This particular, the E-Flight version, with the dual 64, EDF motors, although the plane sips on the EDFs and it flies wonderfully, like I said, that undercarriage is just badly designed. And part of the problem is like the front gear, they don't give enough foam or beef to it within the because of the way they designed it, or to make the model look nice. They kind of skimped on foam on one side of it, so it's real thin. It gives way, and you can rip the nose off really easy on a hard landing. It's really badly designed. They didn't put like carbon fiber rods or anything all the way up through the nose, to help support it if they were going to have it that thin. And so basically this last crash that we had a successful flight. Jim actually flew it, and he was actually the one who, gave it the hard landing. So I was off the hook for once. Yay. So anyway, when he came,
I guess he figured if he flew it, he couldn't do any worse.
Well, yeah, that's
I
can understand that, right? Out of the 8 times that we've flown the plane, I've between me breaking the ear almost every single time. He figured, what the heck, I can do better than this guy.
Right.
So anyway, he got up there, he flew the plane great. Once again, you just give it a hard landing, and that front gear folded. So this time when he came back, we were talking about it. And he actually came out to my house to help me with the project. And so I sat him down in front of the computer, and I showed him a redesigned part for that nose gear, because the piece that he had was all broken up and it was damaged too bad. So I said, hey, I can 3D print something for you. So we sat down. He talked to me about what parts he wanted to have reinforced, thicker, how he was going to mount it with a couple of screws, and, what he wanted me to do for holes and what, put them. And so I kind of took all of his input, put it together, and then I printed him out like 1 or 2 prototypes and gave it to him the next time we flew. And then he took that stuff home, or I think he took it. Yeah, he took it home that day. He took it home and he put it into the plane for this time that when we went out to fly. And we got out there and got the buddy boxes all set up. We were having a little bit of difficulty. Luckily, Mike was there to kind of mediate for us, to kind of get us, settled into understanding what each other wanted to have done.
Sure.
And got the plane up, got it flying. Once again, the plane flies brilliantly in the air. He didn't really have any problems with that at all. And like Mike was saying before, the days we flew, normally it's been gusting, especially since it's been so hot out, this whole summer. But, the temperature was down. It was kind of overcast the first 2 days we flew, and it was absolutely gorgeous, no wind. And Jim brought it in for a landing and did a great job, and the plane landed, not a problem. And we're like, yay! We brought the plane back. We're checking it out, and winky. You kind of grab the front gear and wiggle it, and I'm like, ooh, that seems a little loose, And Mike's like, yeah, that's fine. It'll fly.
It'll fly.
And I'm like, well, you might need to retighten it down or do whatever. I wasn't sure how Jim had it hard, in there, and he had wood screws holding it down. Because it went through the plastic into this big piece of plywood that he had in there. But, the wood screws, any hard landing or whatever get through. And so we were sitting there going, well, too bad you don't have a nut and and a bolt and whatever else. And, that would have been better. And Jim's like, yeah. And so Mike and I were working on something, talking about something else. And we turn around and we look back at what he's talking about. And he's like, okay, I think it'll fly again. And we're like, what? We wiggle it and we're like, well, wait. We're looking in there and we're like, hey, there's a bolt. Where'd that bolt come from? Jim's like, oh, I just put a bolt, da-da-da-da-da. And we're like, where did he whip that out? What toolkit did he get that out of? But he happened to have a spare nut and bolt, 2 of them to put put this thing in there securely.
Yeah, it wasn't even noticeable that he did that.
It was like whip whip.
We were just chatting, and it happened in like no time, like 5 minutes.
Like I said, we didn't even notice.
He had a bolt and a nut in there, and all that stuff was like just going.
Wow,
it was amazing.
He did it all behind your back.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
So it was like kind of out of a cartoon.
Two-faced. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
He was done.
Yeah.
So
he whips out his air compressor and his tools.
Exactly. So he did that fix. We checked out some other stuff. Everything else seemed good. We took it up again, flew it again, and another successful flight. He landed it, and no problems. I don't think we had any problems on the second landing.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good. Landed it.
No, it was fine. He did great.
Yeah.
Wow.
The fun thing about that, we were talking a little bit about the gassers they let us fly. To Jim's credit, he was a little bit leery about letting me fly his gasser plane. I mean,
Well,
to his credit.
I don't know why, because last time a podcast we had a couple, weeks ago, you were talking about crashing my L-39, so I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, Jim.
I mean, to his credit, yeah. I mean, he was like, oh, I don't know about this guy. But, the good news for me was, Jim flew it first, and he was sort of trying to land it, and we, it was struggling to get down because the damn thing floats. It just floats.
Right.
And so we were all trying to figure out, like, what the heck, what we didn't know, what Jay and I didn't know, is that because the trim for the throttle has to be up so that the engine doesn't just cut off.
It just doesn't die, right?
It just doesn't die, right? And so he was like, "Oh, put the trim down, you'll be fine." Like turn it down. And Jay and I was like, "We don't. What does that mean? Like, how do you fly like that?" And so
engine trim,
right? And so we were taking off. So Jim flew it first, and then Jay flew it, and I could see, Jay was struggling with it too. I mean, rightly so. Again, trying to figure out this engine trim stuff, and so I finally got to fly it. What was fun for me was I was challenged. I was like, I'm not going to use the engine trim. Like, I want to get this thing on the deck the way it is.
I'm gonna float way out there and then touch down here with high trim.
It's exactly what I did. So I would get to the, I don't know, I'd be off the runway 50 feet easy.
Wow.
and put it close to the deck, over the weeds basically. And Jim would be like, "Where's the plane?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like, it's down there. I can see it. He goes, "You sure?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, it's right there. It's coming in about 20 feet high, And so
burning all the energy off.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you could do because the thing just floats and floats. The great thing about it is that it's so well done. Jim is such a great builder that you almost had to have no stick. Like, I could almost fly it with my hands off. Of course, you won't because the wind was gusting a little.
Mm-hmm.
But all he had to do is bring it on a slope and then hold it, and just wait for it to drop. And that sucker just come right down nice and easy. And we all got to a point where we were just skimming it right off the ground and doing a go around and come around. And of course, there's occasional bounce. I mean, I had them, Jay had them, we all had, occasional time was like, that wasn't any good. I got to go around again, But sure. We had a great time. We all just spent the entire gas of the plane, taking off and landing. That's what we did the
just
whole
doing
time.
Touch and goes.
Yep. Touch and goes. The funny thing was I was third in line. So we got about a 15-minute gas tank, 10-minute gas tank, and I was third in line. And so one of the times I was flying it, I was doing a touch and go. I gave it the gas, and it goes, brrr. And I was like, what? And I pulled back, and it still had gas. And so I was able to get up off the ground. I'm like, what is that, Jim? He goes, it's probably out of gas.
Yeah, like, probably so.
Probably out of gas. Wait.
Now you tell me.
Don't we have a timer? Like, what's? I just kind of guess. I remember how long. It's like I can't remember how long it's in the air.
How long have we been flying? I don't know, like 35 minutes. I got 16 minutes worth of gas. How long have we been flying? 35 minutes. Okay,
not even a timer,
probably out.
Right? So I go around and I had plenty of gas to go around and come back down. So I put it on the ground, and he brings it over. We bring it over to the pit, and he's like, "Let's see how much gas is left." And he's like doing the thing to wind out the gas. He goes, "Damn, there's all tons of gas left." I was like, "Okay, really?" I mean, and so we did that. We did that again, and it was a lot of fun. And the last time I did it, I thought it was out of gas because it sort of behaved the same way it did before. So as I was going down the downwind leg, I was like, rear, trying to see if it had gas left or not. It's like, do I have enough to go around? Right. So if I hit full throttle and it would die, then I figured air bubbles or whatever, I'm not going to do a go around again. But Jim's like, what are you doing? I'm seeing if there's gas left.
I'm using up the gas to see if there's gas. That's what you're doing.
I'm just trying to find out, is this thing going to keep flying or not? And
that is hilarious.
So part of that whole thing is that when I had it coming towards us when I was landing it one time, the trainer switch, or the engine cut switch
is on the trainer
set.
switch.
So it's on the trainer switch. He's like, hit the trainer switch, hit the trainer switch. I was like, what are you talking about? Hit the trainer switch. So I hit it and it cuts off. I'm like, oh, the trainer switch, got it. So that was basically it. I think that was a joke that we had going on for like the rest of the time flying. It's like, yeah, hit the trainer switch, it'll be fine. You just bring it down. And we were flying one of my last flights of that particular plane, and Jim walks over to the plane. I put it down for a touch and go, getting ready to do a go round. That was after I did that rear, right?
Yeah.
He came up.
Yeah.
He came up to me. I don't know what his intentions were, but whatever they were, he hit the trainer switch just as I was starting to pour on the coals, which means the engine died. I was like, okay. So
you're staying on
luckily,
the ground whether you wanted to or not, huh?
Yeah. So luckily, it really was, like I didn't just goose it and it rotated around from torque or anything like that. It was still on its nice path, and
right.
I was able to put it back down again. But
oh, that's nice.
We had a lot of fun.
That's funny.
At least I had a lot of fun. Jay, did you have fun?
Yeah, I did. It was fun watching you two interact, and it was nice with the male camaraderie, and it's just what RC flying's all about when you have a bunch of good guys and we're all out there,
absolutely,
jibber jabbing and jabbing at each other, and talking about each other's flying styles or whatever. So it was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
So I have to ask, was Jay up at Dark 30 for the whole time you were there?
So yes, as long as Jim was at the field. If Jim wasn't going to be at the field, then he was like, yeah, we'll go whenever we want. That's
right.
And,
yeah, I've been there.
And so I think the final day
on Labor Day,
I asked him, like, what time do you want to get up and go flying? And he's like, 9:00's fine. And I think I set my alarm for 8, to get up enough time to get ready and whatever. Right. And I ended up sleeping through my alarm. And I was like, I came out and I was like, dude, why didn't you come get me? He goes, clearly you didn't want to wake up.
Yeah.
I was like,
so yeah,
okay.
clearly the answer to that was, I just got up myself. That's really the true answer.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, because he was working on my plane. When I got up, he had just finished it, so I think
that sounds a lot like when I visit, because I'm usually in there early in the morning working on his plane. So I'll come in there, hey, what are you doing? I'll be like, I got all your airplanes fixed. Let's go fly. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was on my best behavior.
Well, that's good news. You were out there. Yeah.
What's that, Jay?
I said I was on my best behavior.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, no. I mean, I think having a third person out there and someone to meet up with drives, a little bit
course.
It gets us motivated to the right direction. And
well, especially Jim. I mean, we talk a lot about him on the podcast, and he really is a great guy, and he is very
he's the best builder.
Personable. He's got great equipment. And he's always there with a smile and a story, coffee and donuts
food.
And breakfast.
Yeah, he's always there breakfast.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter.
I think that's why Jay wanted to show up on time, because he didn't want to miss breakfast.
He wanted breakfast.
Heck yeah.
Donuts and kolache.
Yeah.
And it was good.
Absolutely. That's can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong.
And he usually puts his easy up there too. If Jim says he's going to be there at 8, he's usually there at 7:30. Or 7, so he can get all set up so that when you get there at 8, he's ready to go. Hey, I know.
He sure was. Every time he showed up, he was ready to go.
Yeah, I love flying his stuff. It's fun. So
yeah, we had a good time.
Well, that's good. So you said there was another club member. Did he come out and fly with you, or?
Oh no, this guy Brian met with us. He came over. We were flying, and he saw us there, so he drove by and he said, my dad used to fly. Yeah, my dad used to fly, and I live on this side of the hill or whatever. Right, we're right over there.
Oh, gotcha.
I saw you guys flying,
right.
So I wanted to come by. So he's seemed pretty. Have you talked to Brian, by the way?
No, I haven't talked to Brian yet, so I don't know if the number I gave him was
right.
Really he saw you, so he just came over to see what was going on, basically.
He did, and then he's like,
okay.
"Oh, well, I need a buddy box." It's like perfect, and of course I kept saying, "You could just fly with Jay, or you could fly with Jim." He's like, "How come you don't want to fly with me?" He's like, "Well, because I live in Dallas." He goes, "Oh,
right,
okay." That's fair.
Yeah, there you go. That's too funny.
Yeah, Brian seems like a good guy.
He seemed like a nice guy. Yeah, and his dad.
Yeah, well, that's good news.
Yeah, his dad flew some older stuff. He's talking about some of the gear. Like, yeah, we don't fly with that stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. Somebody just posted something the other day. I was thumbing through Facebook or something, and somebody had one of those old radios they were, putting back together. And
yeah,
I was just like, whoa, man, those days.
Well, the good thing about the 75 megahertz stuff is that you show up at the field, you're probably the only one that got it. So
you got the whole field to yourself.
That's true. Nowadays, you are. Yeah, that's true. You got the one flag in the whole field. Hey, I've got to hang my flag. Oh, that's awesome. That's too funny. I don't even think
people understand what those protocols are anymore. Like, it's been long enough that we haven't flown without that gear that there's not. I mean, I saw some of the older clubs, but I wonder if anybody even knows what that protocol is about, like how that works.
Yeah, there's still guys I think out there that use those. Most people have gone to the new digital radios, but I have seen guys with especially if they fly FPV or long distance gliders or stuff like that. It's if they feel like they're going to get away a little bit further away or higher or whatever, then they can't go wrong with
megahertz.
Those.
Yeah, 75 megahertz is awesome, especially when you got a cell tower nearby, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, because we've had that happen at the club. So you mentioned earlier to me as well that Mike came down. You did a little repair work on your Infinity Wing.
Yeah, sure did.
So we had talked about that before.
Yeah. So since when we last talked about the mini Infinity Wing, that both of us busted ours up. I finally took a look.
Right.
When Mike came down, I said, well, now that I have a second set of hands, I'll attempt trying to put this thing together. So him and I kind of set up the day before we flew. I guess that was on Friday night. And we ended up putting the whole plane back together. And it wasn't terribly hard. I mean, luckily, mine was in like 3, maybe 4 pieces, and we had maybe one piece that was kind of tricky, trying to glue it and hold it and spritz on it and all that kind of stuff to get it right. But honestly, we were able to get the whole plane back together with some thick CA. We just took our time and spritzed as we went along, and like I said, everything was a clean break, and we got it all back together and flew it the next day. Unfortunately,
you can't say you flew it.
Well, it flew for that distance that we threw it.
Well, that's the real problem, is that the thing decided to do nose up like my Panther did it last day.
Yeah.
So I can't tell if it's because we're just tossing it wrong, or if there's something.
I don't know,
because
I moved the battery forward, like I did last time, right? So I moved the battery forward so it'd be nose heavy-ish.
Right.
Up to full power. Mike threw it. Don't know what happened. It didn't seem like it got caught on. He caught the elevator, or he caught it on anything. He threw it, and that thing did the same things last time. Went straight up. This time, I kept the power on, but it still flipped over on its back. The minute it kind of flipped over, came around. Cut the power, and it just hit, and it only broke the tail off. The tail kind of broke free. So it didn't break any worse or break into 3 pieces again, because once again we were doing over high grass. But that was very frustrating. I mean, we could have fixed it right there at the field, but at that time I was like, I don't know what's going on with this. I might have to talk with Eric and see what we're doing, or maybe throwing it wrong, or I haven't gotten hold of him yet, but it may just be that we're throwing it wrong, or we're not giving it enough thrust, and it's just a quirk of the plane. So I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, so were you able to print out the parts that you needed? Is that what you did?
We didn't print. I didn't print.
No, we just glued it.
You just glued everything.
Just
back
glued
together.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, really, the cool thing about that is that the layers just sort of broke at the layer points. So all you had to do is put glue on there and then shove it together and spritz it, and then it would be. It's almost like you couldn't even tell there was a break there, except for the glue that might be left over. And then I think, didn't you epoxy it some too? Jay?
Yeah, I put some epoxy. Remember, I was telling you about that guy Renee, and he was, he would sand it and then put epoxy on top of it, and it would give him a nice strong joint. So I did that for the tail where it broke again, but I think my epoxy was old. So that didn't help any because it didn't exactly cure like it should have cured. So it was definitely getting oldish. Yeah. So that wasn't exactly a good test. But,
well, my wife caught me the other day digging through the trash can for the dryer sheets, and I had like 4 or 5 of them in my hand. They're all watered up, and I'm all like straightening them out. And so she come walking in the laundry room, and she looked at me, she goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm standing there with all these dryer sheets, and she's like, "Are you digging in the trash there, George Costanza?" And I started laughing, and I go, "It's not an eclair, it's just dryer sheets." So she just shook her head, walked back out. I thought, yeah, that's a pretty tough explanation. So why are you digging in the garbage for dryer sheets?
Well, at least you weren't putting them in your mouth or something like that. That would have been hard to explain,
it wasn't,
right?
But I'm interested in doing that technique. I want to try that and see if how that works.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. Those are nice and fibrous, right?
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, they are, and they should work. Speaking of epoxy and glues, in normal form for me, I have a little mini fridge in my shop. Right, it's over in the little kitchenette area. So I have a mini fridge where I keep my paints and anything that's gonna that can harden up here in Arizona because it's 150 degrees. So I keep it in there just to kind of keep it at a cooler temperature. I don't keep it frozen, but I just keep it cool. And I have some thin CA that I put back in the refrigerator, and I shut the door. So last night, my dad and I were doing this project, and he said, I told him, I said, "Hey, I think I can glue this together." And I came running in here. I opened my mini fridge, and now I have a permanent bottom drawer. The little plastic drawer that comes in and out on the very bottom of your mini fridge is now permanently attached to my refrigerator.
Oh, no. Who knocked it
my
over?
My thin CA. Well, I shut the door, and my thin CA fell over. And I guess the cap was not totally on, so the cap fell off, and it just emptied the whole bottle in the bottom of the refrigerator. So I thought, you know what, I could do this, and so I took some debonder. You should be able to use like
remover or something. Yeah, I
did. I took some debonder and I put it on there. Yeah, it just made an even worse mess. So It did bring the sides of it up, but the center it can't get in. It can't get underneath it. I'll try. I mean, I'll go check it again today because I did it last night, but I just shook my head. I was like, dude, I got to tell Jay that I just glued my refrigerator tray to the bottom of the refrigerator. So anyway, now I got to figure it out. The door does open, but it's just the little tray down in the bottom where I normally, because I keep all my paints and stuff so they can stand up, right? Sure. All the shelving is wiring. And so if I put paints on that, they kind of fall over, but the little tray down there I can take out, and then I can use all the paints or whatever I need, and I just shove back in there. Now it's permanently attached. So
I see.
I figured you guys get a kick out of the fact that I glued my refrigerator shut. Well, not the door shut, but the drawer.
Well, I will say that I'm sorry to hear about your loss of your drawer, but I mean, I've been using my mini fridge to do, for putting batteries in there, and I've also been putting the glue in there, and it works. It does keep the stuff longer.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
It does keeps it way longer.
I guess I have to get a mini fridge.
It does do well for your batteries, too.
I guess I have to get a mini fridge now.
Yeah, I've had this for many years, probably 10 or 15 years. It's always been sitting in my garage, right? So
I'll have to troll the colleges for when they get out.
Yeah.
So imagine they try to sell those
hit
things.
Craigslist up, see what you can find. Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. Well, it sounds like you guys had a great Labor Day.
We did.
We didn't on our last podcast. We didn't give a shout out to the guys over at Holly Springs, but they usually have a big Holly Springs event during Labor Day. Unfortunately, this year we were not able to attend. We had other commitments and kind of wound up here. But we do want to give a shout out to them. We need to get Doug on and see how it went.
Yep.
And maybe we can reach out to him and
it's a great idea,
or at least have him give us a little recap on what how the whole thing went and what they did this year. So
it sounded like they had a real good turnout from what he was talking about.
Yeah, from what I was looking at when they were posting stuff, it looked like they did just as well, if not better than the year before. I think every year they up their game and give a shout out to the Holly Springs group. They're always supportive of us, and we like to support them as well. So
yeah. Good stuff.
Perfect. Well, our time is up. We appreciate you spending the Labor Day holiday with us and kind of joining us for our antics. Let us know on our Facebook page what you did during the Labor Day weekend. And like I said, if you are on our YouTube channel, smack that bell, like
Ding!
and subscribe, and give us a shout out on iHeartRadio. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us here at the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona.
I'm Jay from Arizona. What? No, Jay from the hills
He's already moving.
of Texas. My goodness.
Oh my Lord.
Hey, let me try it. Jay from the hills of Texas.
That's pretty good. Yeah. You can edit
Maybe
his
I'll
part
swap
out and
them
use
away.
yours instead. Exactly. And I'm AK Mike in Texas.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.